At Boar's Head, we believe culinary journeys don't always need a passport. So when we crafted our Madrasala curry chicken, we did the traveling for you. Masterfully seasoned with layers of Indian spices, then slow roasted for an aromatic fusion of exotic flavor. Taste the vibrance of India, now at your deli. Madrasala curry chicken, only from Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.
Blog Talk Radio.
You're listening to Wide Men Can't Jump on the Wide Men Radio Network, located at blogtalkradio.com/widemencan'tjump. We're brought to you by the law offices of Stephen P. New, wowfreecam.com, and facebook.com/makeupkennedy. You can check us out anywhere and everywhere you find podcasts. Now, for the hosts of your flagship program, here's Tom Robinson and Nate Bush. What's up out there, everybody? It's Nate. It's TR. We're in the house. Wide Men Can't Jump. Game 3 is over with, and we have a lot of comments on that. But, TR, we're going to start the show off quickly here. Go ahead and yowza me, TR.
Yowza, yowza, yowza.
Yes. Well, we have already got our first guest on, as we have a jam-packed guest list tonight talking about the draft and about the finals. But our first guest is the only 3-time returning guest that we've ever had here on the show in our 31 episodes. Philip Rossman Reich of the Orlando Magic Daily and the host of the Locked On Magic's podcast. Philip, what's up, man?
Not too much. I think I'm still recovering from what Kevin Durant did to the Cavaliers tonight.
You know, I'm surprised they didn't write him a ticket. I'm surprised they didn't write him a ticket in Cleveland for that. That was just, ugh. I haven't seen, to quote Cousin Eddie from Vegas Vacation, I haven't seen a beating like that since somebody stuck a banana in my pants and turned a monkey loose. So, man, it was rough. But speaking of that, what are your thoughts as we come away from Game 3 tonight? The Warriors take a commanding lead in the series at 3-0, pretty much cementing another title, unless a miracle occurs. What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, this Cavs team did come back 3-1 against the Warriors, if you haven't heard. But you know, every time I've watched Golden State, and there's been a lot of reason to doubt them, at least a little bit this season, with them not getting the first seed with the injuries that they had to face. In these big series, I've just noticed that whether it was Houston, whether it was Cleveland, they had to be pretty close to perfect to beat them. The margin for error playing Golden State is so small. Just one little mistake is enough to completely throw a team off and completely change the game. I mean, Golden State tonight, Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson score 21 total points. I think it was 7 for 27 shooting between the two, and it didn't matter.
Yeah, it was awful.
Golden State was still in the game. They won the game, and you know, LeBron got the help that he needed. Kevin Love had a great game. J.R. Smith had a great game. They won the glass again, and it's just one little mistake. You know, switching Kevin Love onto Kevin Durant, or not staying up on Durant enough on a three-pointer 5 feet behind the three-point line. It's one little mistake, and that's it. And the whole game is done. And Cleveland, honestly, if I'm Cleveland, you got to feel like you should be up 2-1 in the series at this point with the way they play. But Golden State is just so good. They put so much pressure on you to be perfect, and they take advantage of every little mistake. And they don't have to be perfect. They weren't perfect tonight. They weren't perfect in Game 1. And they still found a way to win and seemingly win comfortably.
Yeah, this is TR. What's going on, Phil? How you been?
Hey.
Yeah, it's kind of going down 3-0 when you played well in Game 1, and for all intents and purposes, with the flip call and the missed free throw and the J.R. Smith that'll go down in history. I mean, I can confidently say that the way both teams played that night, they should have won that game. Tonight, played good, like you said, won the boards, Kevin Love, good game. J.R. Smith, good game. Rodney Hood, good game. Triple-double LeBron. The Warriors are just so damn strong. It's frustrating. It's bad for our coverage. It's bad for the NBA. It's bad for everything. I don't know who could, other than people that live in San Francisco and that area, could enjoy this. It's just it sucks. I was rooting for LeBron just to make it a competitive series, but they're just overmatched in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not willing to go so far as to say it's bad for the league, or I mean, it's certainly bad that we probably won't have a long series now, because long series are fun. But these games have been fun. I mean, Cleveland had their chances to win tonight, and they weren't able to execute at the end. They weren't able to get the shots. They weren't able to get the stops that they needed, which has been their problem all year long. Game one, same kind of deal. Cleveland had their chances to win that game. So, I like to joke. I'm a Magic fan. So I do reference things in Magic history. I like to joke that the 2009 Finals was a close 5-game series. That it was a 5-game series. Lakers were the better team. Not disputing that. Not begrudging any goaltends that were not called at the end of Game 2. But the Magic played them close, but they weren't able to win the game at the end, and that's really what it comes down to at the end. Is can you eke out that extra point to win the game, because the series tips on those plays. I mean, I'll go back to 2009 again. The Magic were up 3 with Dwight Howard at the free throw line. He misses 2 free throws. Magic don't stop Derek Fisher from hitting a 3. They go to overtime. What was going to be a 2-2 series suddenly became a 3-1 series, and that was it. This series is the same way. What probably should be a 2-1 series in Cleveland's favor, or at least 2-1, Golden State at this point. It's 3-0 Golden State, and that's a completely different series.
Correct.
Yeah, I think Cleveland should have won Game 1. I'm not so sure about tonight, because even though Cleveland kept it close, Golden State, they were the better team tonight. It showed on the offensive execution. The only thing that Cleveland really dominated in was offensive rebounding, and rebounding altogether. They got 9 more offensive rebounds than did Golden State, and I think they're willing to live. Golden State is with that, but man, Durant was just a knockout shooter tonight. This brings up the question for me, and I'm going to ask everybody tonight about this. This is something I'm willing to talk about. Do you think that the NBA should adopt get rid of the East-West system and go to the best 16 teams play? Let's seed them based on record. Let's do away with the conference system. Let's just switch this over to the best 16 teams make it. And this year you would have probably seen Golden State and Houston in the finals, which was a very entertaining 7-game series. What do you think about that?
I actually think that this is, I probably haven't thought about it long enough in the NBA, but I actually do think it's something that the NBA should at least seriously consider and probably should adopt. I think the best example that we have of this working is actually another, quasi-NBA property, the WNBA. The last 3 years now, they've done away with their with conference seeding. The best, I think it's still the best X amount of teams per conference make the playoffs, but then they're reseeded based on their record. And it's delivered really entertaining finals. The Lynx and the Minnesota Lynx and the Los Angeles Sparks have been far and away the best 2 teams in the league for the last 3 years, and they've delivered 3 amazing finals matches that went the distance and was really, really good for that league and for women's basketball in general. If you're a basketball fan and you missed out on those series, I think you were really missing out on some really incredible basketball. I think that the success of doing it at that level, I mean, something that is NBA related, they can look at that data and they can they'll have experience now running that system. I think that is definitely something the league should consider. Conference imbalance is definitely something that's cyclical. It feels like it's been a long time since East has been the more dominant conference, top to bottom, or at least making the playoffs. And I think if you're going to get rid of the conference system, then you have to redo the schedules and make the schedules more balanced. Because obviously, playing a West schedule is different than playing an East schedule where, you're playing teams in the opposite conference only twice, teams in your own conference at least 3 times. That creates a huge imbalance too, and so you don't want to advantage one set of teams over another in some way. So it probably needs a little bit more studying, especially because the NBA season is just so long and there's so many teams in the league. But it is something that I think that they should consider in some way, shape, or form because it'll create more entertaining and more interesting matchups, I think, and it'll create a better showcase series at the end, which, I don't think the NBA is hurting for television ratings right now, but if that is something that the networks want and something that they want to deliver to the networks, because that's who they're serving ultimately with this thing, then that's something they should consider.
My take is, in theory, Nate, yeah, but I don't necessarily agree that the Rockets would have been there. I think the best 2 teams in the NBA are playing right now, just one's significantly better. But Adam Silver was asked this, I can't tell you where, but he was asked a specific question about this prior to the playoffs. And he pretty much said maybe down the line. However, it would be a lot of work that Philip alluded to later in his comments about the scheduling. You'd have a lot of cross-country flights. They just tried to avoid back-to-backs the way it is right now. And if you evened out the scheduling and tried to make that a reality, you'd need a lot of smart people to comprise that schedule to make that happen. And that's a factor because, if you keep the schedule the way it is and you have the best quote-unquote seeds for the best teams, that by record can be deceiving, as we see the 4th seed in the finals this year is, it's Cleveland's the best team in the East. It is what it is, and I don't know. It's going to take a lot of work. If it happens and it's better for the game, I'm all for it, but it may prolong the season. I guess that's good for us too, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's good that we have that there's a commissioner that's at least willing to explore the idea and looking for ways to make the game better. Whether they implement something like this or try another tweak down the road, who knows? But I think it's good that this is something that's on the table for discussion. At least I don't know if David Stern would have even put this on the table.
Nah, probably not.
He wouldn't. Bud Selig wouldn't hear of it, and I guarantee you Roger Goodell would have already shot it down. So at least Adam Silver is a guy we can call and agree with. But let's switch gears to what we got you on here for. The NBA draft's in a few weeks. We got it's going to be an interesting draft. I've been working on my mock draft with haste and looking deep. You're Orlando Magic, who you report on, and you're our guy for Orlando Magic. And again, everybody check out Philip's Facebook page or his Twitter page and check out the Locked On Magic podcast. He is our guy for all things Orlando Magic. We've got the Magic picking 6th this year. Phil, what is your thoughts on that?
It's an interesting spot in the draft, I think. Everyone has been really looking forward to this crop of players. It's a very, very good draft at the very top. I think a lot of people think there are 6 or 7 potential all-stars, and then so a lot of people are really, really excited about the talent that's coming into the league this year. I wouldn't say there's any runaway superstar players. Like I've had a lot of, I've had some. I don't think there's any like LeBron James, Kevin Durant type players who change your team just by their mere presence. But I think there are some very, very, very good players in this draft. And so the teams at the very top, even down to where Orlando is at 6, I think they'll be very happy with the player that they're going to get, and potentially they'll get an all-star caliber player in this draft. So it's definitely a really interesting draft because at the same time, like all those players have all-star potential. I've kind of been banging the drum a little bit. Maybe it's my anti-tanking mind thinking this during the season. These are all players with a lot of flaws too, and you have to make sure that you're putting them in positions and in a culture and in a program that will help them grow and avoid maybe some of the pitfalls that their talent has. I think the other thing that's really interesting about this draft particularly is, we just saw playoffs where centers were really kind of discarded in a lot of ways. I keep thinking about that Rockets-Jazz series where the Rockets just kind of roasted Rudy Gobert and almost made him unplayable, and he's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year. This is a draft with a lot of bigs at the top, a lot of big men, and they're more modern big men in a lot of ways, but who knows what a modern center is anymore with the way that this league has gone. So it's interesting in that way too. It's filled with a lot of very good players, but a lot of players who may not have a very natural fit in the direction that the league seems to be going.
Yeah, has Orlando worked anybody out, or is there anybody that they're looking? Actually, I should make it a two-part question because Nate and I talked. I think it was last week. We don't want to touch all the way on the draft yet because, there's still some season left here. But we touched on it, and we were thinking about Orlando, and we were thinking about you specifically to kind of smarten us up about what's going on down there. Are they thinking of, I love Aaron Gordon, but he certainly hasn't lived up to what I thought coming out of Arizona yet. And Nate says, why are you saying yet? It's been like 20 years. I'm joking. But are they considering, like, blowing up the team? It's kind of a two-part question. Who, if there's any whispers that you got, who's Orlando looking at? And is Aaron Gordon going to be with the Magic next season?
Well, to answer the first part, the Magic have been pretty secretive and quiet about their draft preparations throughout the whole process. They are, I do know that they have workouts planned for this week, including, I'm kind of been sworn to secrecy, but one of the players that is up for the 6th pick will be in town tomorrow, actually on Thursday, for a private workout, and so you can surmise who that is, or wait till the end of the day when I can actually report it publicly. But
gotcha.
Orlando's had some people in town. They're going through the workout process just like everyone else is. It's an information game. It's about gathering as much intelligence as you can about these kids. Frankly, about these young players and getting to know them as best you can with the time that you have with them, both on the court and off the court. In the formal job interview part of the workout or job interview. It's not particularly clear what direction the Magic are going to go. General Manager John Hammond has been on local radio, and really he said this really since the end of the season, since the draft lottery. He said, we're planning to take the best player available. We're drafting at 6th. We need everything. We're not in a position where we can pick and choose who we get or pick and choose based on position. If there's a more talented, better player out there, we've got to take him because this team needs talent. A lot of us in the Magic community suspect that the new president of basketball operations, Jeff Weltman, he was hired last summer. Everyone suspects that he's going to begin flipping over the roster this year. That he and the Magic will be very active in trade talks, trying to just change things up because obviously this has been a group that's been together for 6 years and has accomplished absolutely nothing. And it's kind of topped off at 32, 33, 34 wins. They had 35 win seasons 3 years ago now. And they've kind of stalled out, and now they're stuck at 25, 29 wins. That's obviously not going to get you anywhere, and they don't have a lot of cap room to spend to make the team better. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the Magic do and how the Magic go about that. They kind of took last year as an evaluation season. And really the big decision facing the team this year is not only their pick at 6, but Aaron Gordon himself. He's a restricted free agent this summer. Hammond was on a local radio show in Orlando here yesterday, so it would be Tuesday, and said, it might have been pro forma, it might have been, kind of a generic thing, but said the Magic have every intention to bring Aaron Gordon back. Now, if someone offers him the max or someone gives him a crazy backloaded deal that they don't want to deal with, that could change. So circumstances definitely matter. But it does seem like the Magic aren't going to let a 22-year-old walk for nothing. I would anticipate that the Magic are going to be willing to match almost any offer that Gordon might receive, and I kind of anticipate that they'll come to an agreement before he signs an offer sheet and really hits restricted free agency. So I think that the Magic are going to stick with Gordon, stick with Isaac, and then you add this 6th pick, and now you start having something that looks like an interesting young core. and some of the other pieces will be what matters down the road.
Right on.
Well, one player, and I'll go ahead and reveal this since we're on the show here. While working on my mock draft, I did get to the Orlando pick. I did look at some salary cap. I did look at who contributed last year to the Magic, what they need, who signed to a long-term deal, et cetera, et cetera. So I've been putting a lot of thought into this draft of mine. I have the Magic taking Trae Young at 6. Not only would he be a fit for what they can do, he's a passer, he's a scorer, he can shoot, and in this modern NBA, he would be the kind of guy that could really make the Magic. He could be that star that could attract people's eyes to Orlando, as the market is not exactly, it's not a New York or a Los Angeles market. I think Trae Young would be a good fit for the Magic. He would fill a big hole, especially with the trade of Elfrid Payton last season. So that's who I have going. I know you can't reveal anything about the workout tomorrow, but what are your thoughts on Trae Young possibly suiting up for the Magic? Because that's something that I've seen on several mock drafts.
Yeah, and that's who I currently have the Magic taking as well in my mock draft, and I've done some mock draft exercises with some other writers and some other bloggers, and it always comes down usually comes down to picking Trae Young, and it seems like that is a pick that makes a lot of sense. You're right, it makes a lot of sense with the team's needs. They need a point guard. Makes a lot of they need shooting. They need a playmaker. They need someone who can create for others. They need a scorer. They need someone to kind of set everyone into the role that they're most successful in. Getting Evan Fournier maybe a little bit more off the ball and a little bit more space to take threes at the 3-point line. Giving more room to Aaron Gordon and Jonathan Isaac on the perimeter. Young is someone who, it really to me, he's the first player that you can clearly see Stephen Curry influenced his game. And I don't think he would say Stephen Curry is the guy he models his game after. He would say it's Steve Nash, which is an interesting comparison. I mean, I do agree that there is a little bit of Nash in his game too. But it feels like to me he's really the first player that grew up watching Stephen Curry and adding those elements to his game that we're seeing come into the NBA. And that kind of player warps defenses. It forces defenses to account for him at all times, and that makes everyone's life easier. And I think that's a player that you can truly build around them. Like I said, there are some really nice centers in this draft. Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., Jaren Jackson Jr., DeAndre Ayton's probably going to go number 1. But there are some really interesting centers in this draft. But even though Mo Bamba has this insane 7'10" wingspan, I don't think he would change the game as much as having Trae Young at the head of your offense. I think you can find defenders that can do sort of not completely what a Mo Bamba does, who compare similar to like Rudy Gobert. You can find centers that do at least a good chunk of what a person like that does. I don't think you can find someone that can do everything that Trae Young does. And so if I'm Orlando and Trae Young's on the board, I think that would probably be my pick too.
All right.
Go ahead, Nate. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, TR, we're going to run a little on time. I know Phil's got to get to bed. He probably has to work tomorrow. But if you got anything for him?
Yeah, I got one
Go ahead.
Non-basketball question, because Phil told us that he likes the kind of stuff that we like.
True.
CM Punk fighting Mike Jackson, UFC 225 Saturday. Just won the court case with Colt Cabana. Is CM Punk too damn old to be in the damn UFC, or is he going to get a win?
I don't follow UFC as closely as I do other sports entertainment, but I guess UFC is more sports than entertainment. But if I remember correctly, CM Punk really struggled in his first run with UFC. And I know he's getting up there in age, and WWE is, in wrestling, age doesn't seem to matter as long as you can still sell, and as long as your opponent can still sell for you. That's not happening at UFC, and so I hope CM Punk knows what he's getting himself into. He's obviously a really skilled athlete and a skilled enough fighter to get into the octagon and get into that ring, but. if I remember correctly, his first run didn't end so well. So I can't imagine it's going to get better as he ages.
Gotcha. So 0-2, and then maybe, I miss him in the wrestling business. So hopefully, whether it be All In or some non-WWE or even WWE after the court case sting wears off, who knows? But I'd like to see him back.
Yeah, for sure.
I think a lot of fans would. Certainly, the fans in Chicago would.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Phil, thanks for jumping on with us, buddy. We really appreciate you. Thanks for talking some Orlando Magic, some NBA Finals with us. If you want, go ahead and tell our listeners where they can find you, and we'll let you go get some rest.
Yeah, the best place to find me is on Orlando Magic Daily. You can check us out at orlandomagicdaily.com, and you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, all the fun places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. The podcast is Locked On Magic, and you can follow me. Best place to follow me on Twitter is at PhilipRR_OMD.
All right. Thank you, Philip, for jumping on with us, man. You have a good rest of your night, and thanks for coming on, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely. Glad to be part of the Three Timers Club.
You're the only one so far. Thank you, sir. Have a good night. All right, that was Philip Rossman, right? TR, we've got a call on the line here. Hold on just a second. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
You damn right I'm on the air. I got a lot of grievances with you people.
Okay.
Bring it.
I'm joking. What's up, man? This is Naj in Atlanta. How you Canadian boys doing, man?
Oh, my man. Naj called when Tim took place, Nate.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That 1 week. How you feeling, Naj?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Sitting here watching the non-competitive NBA Finals that we've been subjected to, but, besides that, why complain?
Yeah, I'm on the bummed out side because, the realistic me when we had our predictions, gun to my head, I said a sweep. And I didn't want to see that, though, because somewhere along the line in the last 4 years, I've grown to dislike the Warriors. And it's not necessarily the Durant move. It's just, I don't know. After a team is so dominant, I just get tired of seeing a team dominate, for lack of a better explanation. So, and LeBron has played so great this season, and especially this postseason, that I was just really, especially during Game 1 when they could have, should have, would have, stole one at Oracle, I was really looking forward to being wrong and hoping that Cleveland would, at this point, at least be down 2-1, if not up 2-1. And what are your thoughts? As you mentioned coming in, you said non-competitive. I think we can all agree there's no shot of them coming back. This doesn't seem like the Boston Red Sox. But how's your feelings on Game 1 and Game 3? Should they have taken either of the two, in your opinion, or is the 3-0 the way it should be?
Well, yeah, that's the way it should be. And honestly, the sweep, well, that Game 1, the fact that they didn't win, at least we don't have to hear the term gentleman sweep anymore, because I'm getting tired of people saying that. But honestly, man, the Durant move that's the issue, man. This guy went to a 73-win team who had already won a championship, and he just ruined competitive balance in the league. There's never been a second-best player in the league who's done something like this, just out of pure pride, for one. And then for two, it'd be like you setting up a season on Madden and putting it on, okay, maybe you win every game by 30 points. Is that fun? So, no, I'm really disgusted by this, because I felt like the NBA, with the amount of talent they have right now, they had a chance to really change things and not get to parity, because parity is impossible with basketball, just because talent is so few. Great talent is so few, and they, they hold so much sway on the game. But we could have seen something special with this generation of players, and KD, what he did just ruined everything, because now I feel like LeBron is going to do the same thing now, and he's going to go somewhere, stack a team up, and we're going to be, looking at the same kind of thing. And it just ruins competition to a degree. So, yeah, I'm extremely upset at KD. Nice win, buddy, but I'm stacking an asterisk next to his name.
Well, he'll always be remembered as the guy who who had to leave and go, if you can't beat them, join them guy. And the Thunder had that series won with him and Westbrook. A couple things go differently. The Thunder are in the finals and the Warriors are at the house. So it'll have been a little different, but if you can't beat him, join him, and everybody's going to remember Durant for that. He's really, as great as he is, he's going to tarnish his own legacy that way. Would have been like, it would have been like if Bird and Magic decided, why are we playing against each other so hard? Let's just join forces and take it easy.
Right. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for us. Now, one thing you guys talked about with the guy from Orlando that I disagree with is I think we're getting these prisoner of the moment type of ideas where we talk about, we just need to seed the playoffs. It's like, no, man. It's all based on generational outcomes in the draft, who goes where, and who gets injured. So if Derrick Rose and Dwight Howard don't go the trajectory that they went on by being injury-prone and not the Hall of Fame players that they were, on the rise to be as young guys, then LeBron doesn't have a cakewalk in the East. It becomes a totally different thing. But because of that, it's made us think of the East as lesser than when it's like, no, dude, we're just talking about ping pong balls and where they landed. So the East right now, you got Simmons, you got the Greek Freak. In the coming years, the East is going to be a heavyweight. So, this thing is cyclical, and we shouldn't overreact and start trying to reseed and do all this stuff when, no, you're kind of subjected to the era you're playing in. You know what I mean? So I think it's the East versus West dynamic doesn't need to change, and I think we're overreacting right now by looking at, what is a depleted East. But, sometimes draft picks don't work out, or you make the wrong pick. And that guy was representing Orlando, who traded Dwight Howard and turned it into what? Yeah.
if I could tell you. But that's that's also a good point, Nas. I never thought about it from that perspective. I'm glad you were able to bring that to light. That's true, and this is a debate, and I'm glad Adam Silver is gonna look at it and make his opinion known and dive into it. As I think it could possibly make the league better, but as you pointed out, maybe it won't. And it's a healthy debate to have, though, I think.
Yeah, well, there's some years where you're going to draft Michael Olowokandi, and that's going to mess up, the balance of the conferences, as opposed to one year when you get LeBron, because every draft is not the same.
That's true.
That number one pick sometimes is great, and sometimes it's a curse.
Olowokandi. Yeah. Man, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
My God, the Candy Man.
Or Markelle Fultz, and I'm from Philly. But anyway, I'm actually optimistic. I was down on Markelle Fultz going into last year's draft, but throughout the year, not that I flipped completely, but I think next year you're going to see a little bit from him. But back to the point about the change in formations and so forth. If they go to the effort to do that, and all of a sudden you might, instead of Golden State, you might be seeing Sixers Celtics or Sixers Bucks or Celtics Bucks or what have you. So, I lean towards the side of Naj on this one, Nate.
No,
I don't necessarily think
he makes a very valid point.
Shit changes if Kyrie Irving, and who can say about Gordon Hayward, but if Kyrie Irving's the primary ball handler in the fourth quarter, do the Cavs even beat Boston? Who knows? So injuries are a factor.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. But that's a whole other thing because the sad thing about this is because we live in this weird social media era where everything has to be all or nothing. As great as LeBron is, and as much of LeBron, we're kind of oversaturated with LeBron coverage all the time. He's actually going to be downgraded for losing in the finals with teams that had no business in the finals, who he dragged there just through his own, greatness. But when you line that team up against Golden State, there's no shot. We knew that before the finals, and it's playing out on the court. They were bad defensively already, and now they're going to stop this team? No. Golden State has a huge margin for error, and Cleveland has none. So, no, they're not going to win. And I have no idea how Vegas was able to sway people to put money on Cleveland, but, they're good at their job.
Yeah. Hey, Naj, would you care, Naj, if I put you on hold real quick? I've got a sponsor call coming in here in just a second. Would it be all right if we put? All right. We'll get back to you in just a minute. All right. All right. We're about to be joined by our sponsor. I have to call his phone right now. As professional as I am, yes, calling live on the air, but we do what we do here.
Hey, you were drinking tonight. It's not your fault.
That's true. I did have a drink tonight.
Nate had one beer, ladies and gentlemen.
One beer, you know me.
Hello?
Ladies and gentlemen, our sponsor, the man himself, Mr. Stephen P. New from the law offices of Stephen P. New.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Steve?
Doing great, Steve. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you.
Sorry about that noise in the background there.
Is it doom and gloom for you, Steve, on this final series like it seems to be for a lot of us just because it's so non-competitive, or are you still happy with the games because the games themselves, 2 of 3 at least, have been pretty good?
Yeah, 2 of 3 games have been tight. You know, you could probably argue that Cleveland could easily be up 2-1 at this point, you know, but for a few bonehead plays. It's been a competitive series. Still could maybe go 6, hopefully. So we'll just see where it goes. You know, I mean, 2 of the 3 games have been entertaining thus far. You know, and as someone who's not a real big fan of either team, just good pro basketball, you know, that's really all you can ask for at this part of the year.
Gotcha.
Well, folks, again, we're joined by Stephen P. New from newlawoffice.com, the law offices of Stephen P. New, one of our great sponsors here. Again, Steve, thank you so much for sponsoring the show, for jumping on with us here. You're a Lakers fan, I believe you told me. Is that what is that fact there? Lakers fan?
Yes, I am in fact a Lakers fan. Been a Lakers fan a long time. My mother was a fan of Jerry West. Of course, never got to watch him play or anything. So, you know, I started to get interested in pro basketball, collecting the little small NBA basketball cards about 1978, 1979. Really got into it, you know, Bird and Magic come into the league, Showtime, and just, you know, fell in love with the Lakers, the organization, and have, you know, had the privilege of sitting down courtside across the court from Jack Nicholson at Staples Center. You know, had the privilege of watching Shaq and Kobe play David Robinson. So yeah, I'm a huge Lakers fan. I love them, and you know, hopefully they can make a few more trades and get competitive again. Boston has, you know, Boston's back in the hunt, and it's good to see a team that's won, you know, 17, 18 championships, whatever they have, be competitive in the league.
You know, it's TR, Steve. I'm interested with your Lakers in the Julius Randle situation. You know, they're obviously going to be a big game hunter in the off season. With my Sixers, they're up there. I think the odds are now Houston's the favorite, then the Sixers, then the Lakers as far as the LeBron sweepstakes. They can make it if you're a numbers cruncher, and you're smarter than Nate and I with a lot of stuff, but I don't know if you get into this, but salary cap-wise, they can get, hypothetically, both Paul George and LeBron James. Does that make a Laker fan happy?
It does. You know, I have always thought, you know, looking back at great championship teams through the years, I always think that you got to have 4 guys. You got to have 4 studs out of the 5 in your starting lineup, you know, and a guy who can come off the bench where you have not much of a fall off. And I think that's what the Lakers should be looking for. So it would not surprise me a bit that happens.
Gotcha.
Well, not only a Laker fan, I know Steve's a graduate of Marshall University, and we've actually had the director of Marshall basketball day-to-day operations, Neil Skaggs, on here. He's a friend of mine from way back. Believe it or not, a Logan County native, Stephen.
Nice.
He's been on here talking a little Marshall ball with us, and we hope to have Coach D'Antoni on in the near future. I've been in discussions with them. But being as you're a Marshall grad, went to Marshall, did you attend a lot of basketball games back then, and Marshall got their first NCAA tournament win this year. What were your thoughts on their team this year as they went forward? We had the battle of Marshall and West Virginia in the NCAA tournament.
Growing up, big fan of the Herd. Loved watching them play in the Southern Conference tournaments in the 1980s. With Skip Henderson, and all of those great teams. Huck's Herd. It was just it was a fantastic time to be a Marshall fan. My family, my mother graduated from Marshall. My aunt graduated from Marshall. So big fan in the 80s when they played in the Southern Conference, played Davidson, UTC. And then it was when I was at Marshall in the early 90s, it was a brutal time to be a Marshall basketball fan. Even though they were somewhat competitive in the MAC, in maybe the mid to late 90s. It just has been brutal the last 30 years. Hats off to Mike Hamrick for giving Danny D'Antoni a chance to come in. That's Danny's dream job. It's not a stepping stone. Danny was personally affected by the plane crash. He's a son of Marshall. He bleeds green. And, he could have continued coaching in the NBA with his brother and made lots of money and, lived comfortably or what have you. But, the Marshall job was a dream job. He's recruiting West Virginia kids. He's giving kids a chance to play Division I ball who don't even get so much as a sniff from other Division I teams. And it's a really exciting time to be a Marshall fan again, to watch these kids from, Logan or Pineville or Martinsburg or, like John Elmore from Charleston, for instance, or just kids from the tri-state area get out there, get their shot, and then, have a really magical sort of run like they had this year. And, a kid, there's a two-sport star, Jeremy Dillon from Mingo Central High School, won a state title last year. Jeremy's in camp. I saw on Twitter and some news reports and things that, they brought 4 exciting freshmen in. It's just going to be really, really exciting to watch them play. They're getting a new video board down there. And it's just going to be, I think, a lot of fun at the Henderson Center the next few years, watching Danny's brand of basketball. Hopefully they can add some depth, get some more money in the program, and start to compete. That's the great thing about NCAA basketball is you don't have to be a big school. You remember I drove past. I was in Indiana for court and work the other day, and drove past Valparaiso University. It looks like Logan High School. It's a really small place. It looks like Logan over on the island, and I thought that's Valpo. They have success. Places like Gonzaga, have success. So you don't have to be, the biggest school from the biggest conference. George Mason, Old Dominion from Conference USA had a nice run a few years ago. So that's what has Marshall set up to maybe hopefully make a run. Be a perennial tournament appear.
Yeah, TR's so confused right now. He lives in Philadelphia. He has no idea about Logan High School on the island. But that's my old stomping ground.
We need to fly you down just so you get a picture. Valparaiso University. It wouldn't even make a good high school. In Philadelphia. But talk about a great basketball town, though. 4 or 5 great colleges up there. It's just it's my favorite big city. By the way, I love Philadelphia. Okay. It's my favorite big city. Great sports town. Great fans. I just always feel a lot of excitement when I'm in Eastern PA.
this is a segue then. No, Nate, I'm not going to hog it all with my story, but I may be contacting you. I may be contacting you in the future with something that you can help me with in your profession that you're the best in the world at. And I live in the Philly area, so that's good. But awesome point about that, about our city, which I never brought up in 7 months plus now that we've been doing this. Maybe more than that, Nate. I don't even know how long we've been doing this, but
since the beginning of the basketball season.
The Big Five here was so competitive, and Villanova and Temple usually lingered at the top, but you get LaSalle and St. Joe's and the old matches at the Palestra, and you can add Drexel to the Big Five and make it the Big Six, so to speak. Even when they're unranked, something about the inner city matchups between these teams in Philadelphia, it was always electric at the Palestra. And great point about this being a hoops town. I mean, of course, we're all happy with the Philadelphia Eagles finally giving us what we've been dreaming about forever. And I'll never forget that team from last season, and hopefully we can stay on the upswing. But great point that something I never brought up about Philly basketball was the history of the Big Five. We got a national championship for Villanova this year, and 2 out of 3 years actually, and it's a great rich history here. So Philadelphia is a great sport, and maybe, just maybe, if you're not planning on coming to Philly, maybe I'll give you a reason to if I call your offices in the near future.
Sure. Would love to have any chance to come back up that doesn't involve deposing an Ivy League brain surgeon, heart surgeon, cancer surgeon, or something from Penn. That would be awesome if I didn't have to come up there and lock horns with some guy who's way smarter than all three of us.
Gotcha.
Well, TR, if you do call him, make sure you dial 1-888-692-8084 for your free consultation, or visit newlawoffice.com. There's a plug for you, Steve. That one, no charge. But
that's right. Cheap pop there.
No problem. But, we talk a little bit about, especially down here. You mentioned Jeremy Dillon going to Marshall. I've actually had the pleasure of calling a few of his games for the local radio down here. Watched him play football, and he's just as good at football as he is basketball. I'll say that much. He's a quarterback. He can run. Got a great arm. He was a two-sport athlete. I believe he was All-State in both of them. And man, oh man,
in both.
He's a pure athlete, and he's going to add so much to Marshall. He's about 6'5", 6'6", good shooter. And one thing people don't give him credit for is his defense. That Mingo Central team this past year was very good, and I know a lot of you out there are going, my God, Nate's talking high school basketball now. Just hear me out. I'm talking to Steve here. That Mingo Central team was very good, and they were very limited as they lost one of their best players midway through the season. They basically had it was Jeremy and Drew Hatfield, where they're 1 and 2, and they needed a lot of help, and they still were a game away from, or I think maybe 2 games away from the state tournament here in West Virginia in AA, and AA is tough in the state of West Virginia. So big recruit there for Marshall, and I know he'll fit in well, and he'll fit Coach D'Antoni's system very well.
He sure will. This is a great compliment to all that's going on down there, and Danny's excited to have him in camp.
Definitely. So do you think that the Warriors can bounce back, or the Cavs can bounce back and make this a series, or do you think it's pretty much all she wrote when it comes to the NBA Finals this year?
When LeBron gets his back against the wall, I think that's when he is his best. Question is, how's his legs? Is he tired? Can he reach down deep and sort of dig into the well, pull a rabbit out of a hat, I guess, to mix metaphors. But, I think that Cleveland wins the next game. I don't know about any more after that. I really don't, because 2 of the 3 games have been close. But as you've said on social media and some other places, it still wasn't enough. to get the job done. You beat Golden State statistically in some of the statistics, and somehow you find yourself on the losing end by 8 or by 10 or what have you. So I think Cleveland wins the next game, and then Steph Curry and KD just close it out.
Right.
So you're telling me there's a chance? No. It was we had Jonathan Hood on from ESPN 1000, and big wrestling fan too, Jonathan. So shout out. He has our common interests, the three of us. But we were all making predictions, and my heart is different than my head, and these guys made me pick with my head, and I said a sweep. But I've been rooting for the Cavs. Prior to that, I was rooting for the Celtics over the Cavs. And prior to that, I was rooting for the Sixers over the Celtics. So if I'm rooting for the team, you could pretty much put the house on the other team to win the series. So judging from the last 3 Eastern Conference series, but, what am I going to do? I'm a Philly guy.
Do you guys think, Nathan, I know how you kind of feel about this, but do you guys feel like that there's some imbalance there from the West to the East?
Yeah, we were actually discussing that. Nate, you can pose your question to Steve that you've been posing to everybody as far as
all right, I will.
What we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I had posted on social media before we got on here to kind of stir interest up online for the show. Steve, I'll ask you, what do you think? Do you think that we need to just do the best 16 teams in the playoffs, or should we stick with the East-West system that we have right now? Because it seems right now that Golden State and Houston would have been a much better, more entertaining finals than what we've got right now. For money's sake for the league and for ratings, I think we would have had a better finals with just 16. The WNBA has had success with it, so I'll pose you the question. What do you think?
You're asking the wrong guy, Nathan, because I'm way too much of a traditionalist. I really am. I would go back and I would put teams back where they used to be in cities and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. I'm a crazy traditionalist when it comes to sports. That being said, times change. I love the East-West breakdown. And I love the effect of travel on playoff series in the NBA and things like that, and how coaches have to account for that, players have to account for that, and their diet, rest, everything like that. But, as you said, WNBA has had some success with it. Other sports have changed their formats and what have you. So, if the NBA front office starts to sense that, ratings go down or something like that, or I think if for an extended period of time, if for several years there seems to be like 4 teams in the West are better than even the best of the East, you could start to see some of that come about, Nathan.
Yeah, I was. We had a caller on earlier who did pose that. What if Dwight Howard stays in Orlando and doesn't stay injury prone? Derrick Rose stays in Chicago. He doesn't get injured as bad. Teams make the right draft picks instead. Then maybe we have a more balanced league. Maybe the East is the dominant. So, I never really looked at it that way. I guess I just looked at it as it is for now. With the way free agency works, you never know. It seems like these teams, they're all stacking up out west, but you would think free agents, when they become free agents, would want to stay in the East more of a chance, I would think, in my mind, to get to the finals and try to do some damage, especially with teams like Boston, Philly now are starting to rise. And rumors are spreading around the league that LeBron James and Paul George this summer in the offseason are going to be a package. You better be able to afford both if you want them. That's the rumor. So, again, take that with a grain of salt.
Right. And that's not
unheard of. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that there's certainly you know, history certainly bears that out, Nathan. You know, LeBron likes those situations where he knows who he's going to be playing with. You know, obviously that's what he did in Miami. They put together kind of a little mini dynasty down there, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see that happen. Just going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. The GMs and their draft picks, their trades, all that's going to be really important impact on this conference balance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it really will be.
Up here with Philadelphia, I'm sure you're aware of the burner account scandal with Brian Colangelo, our GM. They investigated all day today, and at least as of the time we went on the air, haven't made a decision on his future. But the word I get is they're leaning towards keeping him. If it turned out that it was actually me who was playing Honest Abe and Eric Jr., do you got my back, Steve?
Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you. Brian Colangelo will be happy that he may be cleared, because I am rumored to maybe have one of those burner accounts that was not happy with Markelle Fultz, and I had too many to drink that night.
That's always a good defense. Intoxication is always a good defense to most things.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, we don't want to keep you too long. We appreciate you jumping on the show with us. Ladies and gentlemen, our wonderful sponsor, the law offices of Stephen P. New. Check him out at newlawoffice.com. We'll be playing his commercial that we have made for him here very shortly. Steve, thank you so much for coming on. And Steve also sponsors All-Star Wrestling in West Virginia. It's All-Star Wrestling WV, which I am a part of. Big show on Friday. Magnum TA will be in the house, and many, many more. Tough Guy Inc. will be there. The reuniting of La Resistance, Dr. Tom Pritchard. And you know what? Come say hey to Steve. He'll be there if you're in the West Virginia area. Come hang out with us. We'll all be down there having a good time. Steve, thank you so much for coming on and sponsoring the show. You are the man, sir.
I absolutely thank you so much. Can't wait to be on again. Maybe we will talk about wrestling. You know, I've been a wrestling fan since I was 10 years old. I love it. I was in Philly for the Royal Rumble in January. I got to go to Mania, plan to go to SummerSlam. I'm going to do the Big Four this year. And you know, I love it, Nathan. I absolutely love it. I've got a lot going on with my law office, you know, and I serve on a couple of other boards and things like that. But, you know, I really love, you know, having the connection with Gary, having the connection with you guys, and you know, some other things that just keep me connected to that sport that I love so much.
Oh, and you know what, you're doing a great thing with the sponsoring, and New Law Office has been one of our best sponsors here on the show. You guys are consistent. We constantly put you over. Anytime I see somebody online asking, hey, I need law advice, anybody got a good lawyer, I'm like, hey, I know a guy. Tag your law office right then and there. So we hope we're helping you out.
I greatly appreciate that.
You're helping us out, and we will definitely get you on. We'll talk some more pro wrestling here in the near future, and I will see you Friday, sir, unless I see you at a random gas station again. That was interesting. That was always fun.
All right, I show up for a nephew's birthday party, and boom, there's Nathan buying Slurpees or slushies or something there.
Yeah.
So
my pregnant fiance wanted a slushie, so I had to pick one up for her.
All right, great, guys. So it was great being on. Thank you so much for having me on.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Anytime.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Stephen P. New, our wonderful sponsor. And you know what, TR? The hits just keep on coming. We got another guest here joining us now. He is the editor-in-chief and lead Suns reporter for Hoops Habit and for the Fanside Network. This is Gerald. And Gerald, you're going to have to help me on your last name, brother.
It's a tough one. It's Bourguet.
Bourguet, yes. Gerald Bourguet, all the way out there in Arizona. Thanks for coming on with us here. A little late, but thank you again for joining us. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
doing great. Go ahead, TR.
Nate's great. Nate's great. This is TR. Thanks for coming on. I'm a little, I like to see competitive long series, and my rational mind kind of felt the Warriors were gonna dominate, and my heart was hoping that I'd see a nice long series, and we'd have a lot to talk about on, after every single game, et cetera, et cetera. So, but they're not the Sixers, and I'm from Philly, so I'll get through it.
That's rough, but to be fair, at least the games have all been competitive, except for the one where Steph just made a finals record 9 threes or whatever it was.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. Game 2. Yeah.
Makes a finals record 9 threes, then goes 0 of 9 before he hits his first 3 in the next game. So that shows what kind of series it's been up and down for him. But, the Warriors have had Durant didn't show up in the first 2 games. Steph and Clay carried the load. And then in Game 3, Durant was able to pack the load for them. It's one of those things where the Warriors their players can afford to have an off night. They're okay with that. It's like, Steph and Clay only had 21 tonight. Don't worry, Durant's going to have 43. So, no big deal. They still win.
Absolutely. I mean, Durant's performance tonight was phenomenal. And then you look at the Splash Brothers, they went I forgot what it was, but Steph was 3 for 16. Clay was only 4 for 10. And, they still won, not comfortably, but they were able to pull ahead in the end when it mattered. And I think the difference, aside from obviously Durant, was Iguodala. He was really great. He only had 8 points off the bench, but huge difference maker for them. And when he's on the floor, the Cavs just have no shot defensively.
Yeah, good point about Andre Iguodala, because I had overemphasized to some, but I believe that he is such an important part that's overlooked in that quote-unquote Hamptons 5 with his defense and like you said, his overall presence. And I think that was, he missed certain games and Houston series and coming into the finals and what have you. And I thought that that played a bigger role than many people thought. Without him tonight, I thought there might be a little bit of, rust or, maybe chemistry issues or whatever, and Cleveland jumped out as I expected. But as always, the Warriors are so loaded that I think it was Philip earlier, Nate, that brought up, or maybe it was you that brought up, 1 or 2 things go the wrong way and they're on a, 15-0 run. So, and it's just, it's unstoppable. What can you do, I was going somewhere with a question, but my brain when I go somewhere else. I might as well just switch topics altogether and talk Phoenix Suns basketball. I did hear that Ayton is working out, I believe, tomorrow. Is there any other options going on out there, or are we nationally being fed what you're being told internally?
So, he got into town, I think, yesterday, got some shots up. They, took him to dinner, the whole 9, and then they had a workout this morning, and we're going to have dinner with him again. And I think he was actually watching the finals with, Devin Booker, Josh Jackson, Marquise Chris, some of the guys from the team. So the early team bonding is already in effect. I've been on Team Luka Doncic this whole time, but after today's press conference, it definitely felt like Ayton's going to be the pick. There were just a horde of media people showing up for a pre-draft workout. He basically said he knows he's going to go number 1, even though obviously McDonough, the GM, wouldn't say that. It just seems like he's the pick. He's the local guy. This is his home. He's the favorite that everyone sees, as opposed to the foreign guy that everyone's afraid is going to be Darko Milicic. So it's probably going to be Ayton, and that's not a bad thing. He seems like he's going to be a surefire 20-10 guy. So kind of takes some of the intrigue away, but it seems like he's going to be the pick.
Well,
Gotcha.
One thing with Ayton, it's the attractive pick. It's the pick that the media is saying, that's the guy Phoenix needs. I was looking at doing my mock draft, and I was really looking into it, and one guy that nobody's really talking about is Dragan Bender. Phoenix drafted him a few years ago, a little bit of a project. I thought they took him a little high, but Bender has been a guy who Phoenix, it seemed like they liked him, but now they're looking at Ayton to come in. Is Dragan Bender maybe in the doghouse, or has he just not panned out, or what's going on in the Dragan Bender camp?
Well, I mean, if you look at his first 2 seasons, they've largely been underwhelming, especially for a top 4 pick like he is. His rookie season, he missed nearly half the season due to injuries, and he didn't really get a fair run at playing time because by the time they had fully, gone with the youth and giving the youngsters minutes, he was hurt at that time. So last year was kind of like his de facto rookie season. And he played well here and there, but for the most part, he wasn't aggressive enough. He still needs to get stronger. He needs to be more assertive on offense. Really the only thing that he brought to the table last year is kind of defensive versatility and three-point shooting. He actually shot like 36% from three, which is pretty good for a 20-year-old 7-footer. The thing with bringing Ayton is, like Bender and Chris are both 4s right now, so they can plug them into the 4s, and since both of them have kind of underwhelmed, it's still sort of a battle between the two to figure out who's going to be a long-term fixture in the front court. So with neither one of those two looking like a sure thing, I think bringing in Ayton as the number 1 pick makes some sense, and then hopefully with Bender's versatility or with Chris's true position being the 4, one of those two will work out alongside him for the long term.
I'm from Philadelphia, so it's a lot different than being in the position. Well, not a lot different because we had number 1 the last couple of years, but it's a lot different perspective from here than there because you see a lot more with the organization of Phoenix than I do. You mentioned Doncic. We've yet to do our full draft show, but we sprinkle hints here and there. I'm anti-Ayton. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a bad NBA player, but I don't by any means think he's a consensus number 1. What you're telling us is new information to us out here that, they watched the game together with Booker and Chris and was it Jackson you said too?
Yeah, Jackson.
Yeah, so I mean, all indications are that they're going that way, and he's very confidently, sternly saying, I've heard him say it elsewhere too, that I'm the number 1 pick, and we're going to show we're doing it for the Bahamas. I think it was him and Buddy Hield that are 2 players from the Bahamas that are now coming to the NBA and so forth. I don't know, something to me. I'm a Mo Bamba guy, but I mean I would right now at this date and time. I would take Doncic, but what the hell do I know? So I don't like Ayton at number 1. How are the fans reacting? Do they feel Ayton is the guy to take sports radio and so forth?
Oh yeah, the fans here are nuts over Ayton. I'd say it's probably, I don't want to speak for an entire fan base, but it feels like 75 to 80% are in favor of Ayton. Not only just because of the U of A connection, there are a lot of Wildcats here in Phoenix and just in Arizona in general, obviously. But also it kind of really does boil down to a weird form of like NBA xenophobia. Like it's not like basketball fans like hate foreigners or stuff like that, but you always, every time a foreign prospect is this high in the draft, you always get those questions about, is he going to be a bust? Is he going to be, right, the next Nenad Kristic or the next Darko Milicic? Like that's always the guys that they go to. And it's not really fair because Doncic did things overseas in a better league than the NCAA at a younger age than anyone's ever done them. He's a more polished product than people realize. He just won the EuroLeague championship and MVP honors. I think he's going to be really good in this league. But, Ayton is the 7-foot guy, the guy that looks like David Robinson coming out of college, the guy who can shoot from three-point range. Like, he just looks like a unicorn. So, naturally, their inclination is to side with him.
You know, Luka Doncic, he may turn out to be a better player than Ayton, but with Phoenix's decision here, I think they're going the right direction. If it were up to me, I would go with Ayton because of, again, his size, his ability to shoot from his size is something that they're missing, especially you have Alex Lynn and Tyson Chandler and guys like that who are, you get them outside the free throw line, they might as well be, out in the parking lot somewhere. But
right.
One thing with Doncic is, yes, he did win EuroLeague MVP at a young age, but I'm a Minnesota T-Wolves fan. I live in West Virginia, so I followed Nemanja Bjelica pretty close, and he was a former EuroLeague MVP. And to me, the guy hasn't translated. He's not even that good of a bench player in the NBA. So it depends on the player, and Doncic definitely looks better than what Bjelica is. But at the same time, it's kind of a double-edged sword. And, people go into these drafts with these number one picks, they get excited, but then it's like, okay, am I drafting Anthony Bennett or am I getting Anthony Davis? You don't know. So it's kind of a weird comparison there. But the point guard position is a need for the Suns. Do you have any idea if they're going to build and maybe try to start with keep Elfrid Payton, or are they looking to more so maybe let Tyler Ulis take over? They also have the 16th pick in the draft due to the Suns. There's rumors that they might trade back up, make a couple moves, trade some players, try to get back into the top 10 to take a good point guard. What is it you're thinking they're going to do from the point guard position?
Right. Well, this summer is all about being aggressive for the Suns. McDonough has been sitting on this pile of assets for a while, and it's time for him to kind of accelerate this rebuild a little bit. So assuming they go Ayton at number one, at that point they have a couple of different options they could go. They could wait until free agency and maybe make a large offer for someone like Marcus Smart, a defensive-minded player who would kind of help make up for Devin Booker's flaws on that end of the floor. They could also try and package some of those picks because they have number 16 and they also have number 31, which is as close to a first rounder in the second round as you're going to get. Try to package some of those picks, maybe one of the younger players for someone like Kemba Walker, whose name has come up on the trade market in recent months. They are probably not going to keep Elfrid Payton. I would be shocked if they re-signed him, just because based on what they want to do in free agency this summer, his cap hold, they kind of need to get that off the books to clear out enough room to make any sort of move. And he really didn't impress during his time here. He got off to a hot start. But his defense was a huge problem, and basically all the flaws that Orlando Magic fans have been yelling about for the last couple of years came to light. So I'd be very surprised if he stays here. I think Tyler Ulis' calling in this league is as a backup, but I definitely think once they draft Ayton, all their attention will be to finding a quality point guard that will help Devin Booker get to the playoffs either this season or next season.
I'll tell you what, we here, Nate and I both, we love Marcus Smart. So if you guys, wrangle him, he's not going to be, obviously Devin Booker or nothing, but that kind of grit. And we got a guy you're probably familiar with from the University of Arizona here in Philly, T.J. McConnell. Not quite the talent level of Marcus Smart, but those kind of guys we love on this program. The dive on the floor, to sneak up, on the inbounds pass. It's kind of the unwritten rule. Don't mess with me on, it's chill out, dude, kind of thing. But they break the unwritten rules. They get the offensive boards. I wish I could have 10 of them and, 3 superstars, and I'd be good if I ran a franchise. But, good luck to you in getting Smart. Just don't give the damn Celtics too much, please.
Well, luckily, I think it'd be a free agency offer, and then the Celtics would have to match. So, fortunately, we wouldn't be helping them too much in your favor.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm looking at the draft, and I've been really paying a lot of attention to the draft. The top 10 has 2 point guards. If Phoenix is looking to go that way. Trae Young, Colin Sexton are the 2 darling point guards of the draft. But the further you go, the better these guards start to look. And there's some guards that may impress more than what people are thinking. Alexander out of Kentucky, 6'6", 180 freshman point guard. Aaron Holiday out of UCLA, 6'1", 185 point guard. He's a junior. The pick that I have the Suns making at 16, I have them keeping the pick and taking 6'7", 210-pound freshman from Oregon. He's a combo guard, Troy Brown. I think he would be a really solid fit for Phoenix, as he can, he's good with the ball. He can dish, he can pass, good shooter. If Booker is on the bench, you can play him at the 2. He can play that 1 spot. There's a lot they could do there. At 16, there's good value in this draft the deeper it goes. I don't think there's a runaway number 1, but I think there's value the further you go into this draft, and that's just the mock draft I had was Troy Brown. What do you think they may just stick with that route? And you mentioned Kemba Walker. If Kemba Walker goes to Phoenix and if Ayton pans out to be a player that people think he should be, I think Phoenix is a dangerous team. If you pair Kemba with Booker and Ayton and Josh Jackson and players like that, and you have Ulis as a backup, you have that Kentucky connection going on down there. It'd be scary.
Right. No, that'd be a great core. And to your point about the 16th pick, I mean, you're right. Like, there is some guard depth past that top 10. And there are guys like Alexander from Kentucky, Landry Shamet from Wichita State. A couple of guys they could snag if they wound up keeping that number 16 pick or that number 31 pick. It's difficult to project because they have so many different assets that they could package in a trade, and they have so many different picks in this draft. They could try to move up. They could try to snag a proven point guard like Kemba. They could just use the picks. So it's hard to project which way they'll go. I do think that if they use the 16th or the 31st pick on a point guard, it'll be difficult for them to not, also make a play for a point guard in free agency, just because it's hard to entrust either Tyler Ulis or a rookie with the offense. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of attractive options, and it's going to be McDonough's job to kind of spin the wheel and figure out which direction he wants to put all his chips on the table for.
All right, I got to go back to sorrow now of this NBA championship finals. I think it's a foregone conclusion that nobody in the country is going to rush to Vegas and put a ton of money that they're going to pull a Boston Red Sox. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are pretty much done. I mean, there's always a chance, so to speak. Does it go 5, 6, or are we getting a sweep in your opinion?
I entered the series saying that it's going to be 5 games. Last year the Warriors went up 3-0, and then it was pushed to a 5th game. I'm going to go ahead and disregard all of that and go with a sweep just because of what we've seen in the first 3 games. They just seem so disheartened at this point. Like, LeBron's done everything he can, and they're still down 3-0. They got bad games out of KD, Clay, and Steph, and Iggy missed the first 2 games, and they still couldn't win one. I feel like Game 4 could be a blowout, but even if it is, at least Game 1, like, we got a 51-8-8 from LeBron in an overtime thriller, and then tonight was close until the very end. So as much as the end result is predictable, at least the path that's getting us there has been somewhat entertaining.
Yeah, fair enough. That's true.
Yeah, it's been a series that has really raised some eyebrows. I'm going to pose a question to you. I'm asking everybody that calls tonight this question. With the East being kind of weak this year, and for the past however many years it's been a very weak league in terms of the Eastern Conference. Do you think that the league should adopt the 16 best playoff or teams to be in the playoffs and seed them that way? The WNBA have had some luck doing so. Or do you, because basically, in my opinion, we would be looking at a finals right now of Houston and Golden State, and we'd be in for a miraculous series. Do you think the league should do that, or do you think the league should stick with the traditional East-West format of the playoffs?
See, it's kind of weird for a 27-year-old, but I'm a little old school on this one. I kind of like the conferences. I think it would be fun to mix it up and go 1 through 16 for like a year or two and try it as an experiment and see how it works. The problem is just making the travel arrangements for the series. Obviously with the East teams going against each other and the West teams going against each other, it's easier to schedule games and kind of rip through those first couple playoff series. The idea of a Warriors-Rockets finals would be fantastic. I mean, that was probably the best playoff series of the entire postseason so far. And, watching what the Warriors are doing now, you kind of gain a respect for what the Rockets were able to do, especially with Chris Paul out the last 2 games. But there'd be a lot of logistics to work out with that. And my counter-argument against a 1 through 16 best teams kind of format would be, maybe hang tight, because the Celtics and the Sixers are on the rise. They're going to be really good, and they're going to be really good for a long time. And they're obviously no one was able to knock LeBron off the throne, but they got about as close as anyone has in recent memory. And, you could make the case if the Celtics had their 2 best players, they would have done it. So I think I would stick with the format, but I would definitely be intrigued if the league decided to switch it up for a year or 2 just to see how it works.
I even thought about maybe a neutral site kind of format, kind of like the NCAA tournament, how they have, you could do your round of 16 and have it be at a neutral site, and then your round of 8 be at a neutral site, and then when we get down to the Final Four, take it to a big place and do something like that. Of course, that would be near impossible because it's a series, but still, it's kind of fun to what if and look at. But yeah, it's just a question I've been posing because there's been rumors that Adam Silver is open to discussion about it. Because the league doesn't like to see a series go 4 and done, especially in the finals. They want a few more games than 4. They'd like to have at least 6 if they can get it. So a 4 or 5 game series, they don't make as much money.
I want home court, though. I don't want no neutral site in the NBA.
Okay, I understand. But yeah, it's fun to think about, though. Of course, the home court does play in a lot too. So I don't know. It's something to think about. I'm not saying we should change it or we shouldn't. It's just something that I've always thought about. Like, it might be fun if we did the 16 best. And as a Timberwolves fan, a few years ago when we were the 9 seed in the West and we would have been a 6 seed in the East, I was screaming for it. But you never know with these. TR, do you got anything else for Gerald before we let him go?
No, just not on the Suns or the finals. Just letting both of you know, and I don't know if Naj is still on hold. It would be a while.
He's gone.
Or anybody listening, I can't confirm it, but there's a strong rumor that the Sixers have hired LeVar Ball as our new general manager. Okay.
Oh boy.
So you guys knew I was joking, but that's the circus that is Philadelphia with this Sam Hinkie to Colangelo to burner accounts to what's next, So
What a league.
Yeah, exactly. Great appearance, man. And maybe you come back off season because we're going to keep going through with a basketball show the whole off season and talk about the draft and the free agencies and so forth. That's where I'm at, Nate. Same with you?
Oh, yeah. We'd love to have you back on. Thank you for giving us some of your time, jumping on with us. If you want, go ahead and let our listeners know where they can find you on the Internet and keep up with you, especially. I know we got a few Suns fans that listen. Scott Roberts, big Suns fan. He listens in. A couple more. But, go ahead and let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm the editor-in-chief of a site called Hoops Habit. So if you just go to hoopshabit.com, you can find my Suns articles, and we cover all 30 teams. So go ahead and check that out. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at GeraldBourguet.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for getting on with us, Gerald. We really appreciate your time. and we hope to have you back on really soon. Maybe after the draft we can talk a little bit about what the Suns do, and if there's any big moves, we'll be in touch. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
No problem. All right. We're going to take a quick time out because we've got bills to pay. We haven't paid any bills tonight at all, TR, so let's pay some bills, shall we?
Fair enough.
We want to invite you to check out our sponsor, WowFreeCam.com. For everything you could ever want and imagine in a cam site, it's finally here. It's WowFreeCam.com. You can log on right now and go look at some beautiful women, men, and whatever else your heart desires. WowFreeCam.com limits absolutely nothing to your effect, and you can join right now and go check out all the fun over on WowFreeCam.com. Make sure that you are 18 or older before checking out the site, but we want to give our oldest sponsor some love here on Wide Men Can't Jump and the Wide Men Network. WowFreeCam.com have been with us from the beginning, and we want you to enjoy all the riches they have to offer. So check it out now. You don't know what you're missing. WowFreeCam.com must be 18 or older.
Hello, my name is Kennedy Miller, and I'm a beauty guide for Limelight by Alcone. We are a professional makeup company now being offered to the public after over 60-plus years in the industry. My website is limelifebyalcone.com/makeupkennedy. I can also be found on Facebook as Makeup Kennedy. To contact me about products or joining my team, you can email me at makeupkennedy@yahoo.com. I'll be waiting to hear from you.
All right, paid a few bills there. We're back. It's Nate, it's TR. We got about a half an hour left here, TR. Man, we have had guest after guest and calls, and we were busy this evening. Jeff even called in and listened for a while. Couldn't even fit him in with the busy schedule we've had, so our apologies to caller Jeff. And now Ed Bogus is going to write me a angry message that we didn't get Jeff on tonight. But thanks to all our guests and sponsors for coming on. Really had a good time on the show so far tonight, TR.
Yeah, I mean the thing is we have quality. From day one we've had such a blessing of having quality, intelligent, whether it be callers or guests, etc. I mean our caller tonight, Naj, you missed him the first time he had called the week you were on the cruise when Tim filled in. Very knowledgeable fan of basketball. Jeff's always a great caller. Knows what he's talking about, has great trivia. Even Lou, when Lou calls
Lou.
From North Jersey, he brings that strange sense of humor that I don't even know if he's joking, but he makes me laugh. So, I mean, we got a great balance. And, again, such fantastic guests. I mean, we always say it, and I'll probably, put the responsibility on you to do it, but like a best-of montage of some of the greatest people we've had, and great quotes and what have you, and funny moments and so forth. So
it's been a fun 31 weeks of shows that we've had so far. One thing I do want to say is we are blessed with some of the best guests and some of the best listeners that give us some feedback, and you guys are awesome, and thank you for supporting, and we really do appreciate it, and we really want to keep bringing you great content. When the off season rolls around, we ain't going anywhere because the NBA off season is just as fun as the season for me, TR. I don't know about for you, but it is for me.
Actually, the way this championship has fell, I've been just dying for Cleveland to just win one of the three games. Now, if they win the fourth, it really doesn't even excite me. I really just wanted them to be at least 2-1 going into Game 4, because then it's even a false sense, just something to have the blood pumping. But I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's not the Boston Red Sox and it's not the Philadelphia Flyers of NHL where you say, man, there's a chance they'll make history, because there's really, just to quote Vince McMahon's theme song, no chance. And it's kind of a sad ending to a season. And I love watching basketball, as you know from talking to me off air. I sit there like a goof watching, when my schedule's available to, watching every possession and tweeting after every stupid play and stuff like that. And the off season I'm very excited for. I don't want you or the audience to get me wrong, but I'm gonna miss live NBA action. It won't be too long, but then I get a new pump up and new adrenaline rush to see how right I will turn out to be when I give my mock draft against yours, and I think we're going to have Thomas Bain back on with Tim when we do that, like we did for the NFL draft. And
we're looking at that in that'll be 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks away. The Wide Men Can't Jump Wide Men Draft Special that'll take place the night before the NBA draft. I'm already working on my draft. I'm almost through we're just going to do, I believe, the first round that night. But we're going to have some fun with it. We'll have a good time. Tim will get the handicap that is Thomas Bain, as Tim is not very familiar with the NBA. And, of course, we're going to have more shows coming along, talking fantasy football, talking football, so we'll have that. Unfortunately, we're about to enter that dark hole in the sports world where basketball goes away, football hasn't started yet, and we have baseball.
I was trying to stop you with that and cut you off and say I want to make an announcement that every time this week after the draft show is going to be Nate for 3 hours himself talking about his love of professional baseball. But spoiler alert, you ruined my joke, and the real Nate came out. He's not a big MLB fan.
I mean, I was an MLB fan back in the day, like when I was a Braves fan growing up. I played baseball. I was a decent baseball player. But, man, baseball just bores me anymore, man. Like, I got so into basketball and the fast-moving sport, and I'm not saying I can do what these baseball players do, because I can't. They're fantastic athletes, and I respect them for what they do, but I just think it's so boring. I can't get into it at all. Like, I miss the days of guys being jacked up on roids and hitting 60 home runs in a season. Now, that was good times, but, man, it just bores me. Like, I really enjoyed watching the College Softball World Series the other day. I watched that, and I like that way more than I like to ever watching a baseball game. So that's just me.
Well, we got a lot with, and I still want to talk a little basketball and whatnot, but we got a lot coming up on it. It's Wide Men Can't Jump, obviously, every Wednesday, our flagship show, now hosted by blogtalkradio.com, but available everywhere, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, et cetera, and everywhere you look, we're at.
We're everywhere.
But we, as football comes along and as our schedules in a quote-unquote real life, if I don't know if I can speak for you and Tim, but when I figure out my real life, we're going to have a rock-solid schedule. And we'll have something for everybody, because between the three of us, we like everything from MMA to pro wrestling to handicapping football games, which is going to be a huge thing this football season. And, Nate, I hear somebody. Oh, boy.
Oh, God.
If it gets out of hand, I may handle him myself.
Okay.
Here you go.
Go ahead. Oh, my God. Here he is, folks. He's back.
Yes, I am back. The time traveler I am. The NBA sourpuss TR is so sad tonight. The Cavs suck. Anyhow, I have some envelopes there. I knew TR would be uptight, so I don't know how long he's going to let me be on the line or what have you, but I needed to share something with you, Nate, and the Wide Men Can't Jump audience.
Right. We get a little TR act tonight. I was not expecting this. I'm excited.
I just kind of time traveled through, and it was a surprise to all parties. It may take me a while to open this envelope completely. Bear with me, Nathan, as you are called by some close friends. So
Okay.
the answer, Jalen Brunson's mother.
Oh God.
The Phoenix Suns' best player.
Okay.
And Greg Anthony's favorite pastime.
Okay, so the answer is Jalen Brunson's mother, the Phoenix Suns' best player, and Greg Anthony's favorite pastime. I'm not sure, T.R. What would be the answer? Or the question? What's the question?
The question, name a looker, a booker, and a hooker. Love that Mrs. Brunson doesn't know why Rick, no idea why Rick was cheating or doing whatever he's allegedly accused of. Love Mrs. Brunson.
Ladies and gentlemen, T. Arnak. T. Arnak is back.
You stop it. I don't know, man. He just like a good old wildfire. He pops up, and I can't. I don't want to lose listeners because I have to censor his ass. Give me the phone back, you piece of shit, you.
Oh Lord.
I don't mind Nate because he laughed at my entry. I don't have any more, but since TR's bothering me, TR, may your father meet the fate of those of Steve Kerr and Michael Jordan.
My God.
You asshole!
Jeez.
My dad's already dead.
Jeez.
My dad passed away 2 years ago. T. Arnak is a horrible person, and for those who didn't get it, Steve Kerr and Michael Jordan's fathers were both unfortunately murdered. So
oh my
T. Arnak's got to get out of here for such poor taste at this part, at this juncture. God.
Ooh.
Can't let that person. He's truly tasteless. I mean, he's been called that before, but I think he sunk to an all-new low with that. I can't have that. Anyway. Yeah, I got to keep these people away from me, man. The wildfires and the T. Arnaks.
Oh man, they're a trip, man. I don't know how you get tangled up with so many interesting people.
Yeah, man. It's he's safely gone now. I got my door closed, and there's nobody going to do any more. No more run-ins tonight. I was just I did happen. I didn't want to let him know, but I happened to agree with his opinion of Mrs. Brunson. But
well, she's not exactly hard on the eyes, but TR, let's look a little bit more at Game 3 of the finals. There's a couple things I tweeted out, or didn't really tweet out, but I posted online, mainly on Facebook. But Tyronn Lue is just now getting Rodney Hood into the finals. I'm going to look at the stat line. Rodney Hood had 15 points, 6 rebounds, 2 block shots, went 7-11 from shooting, 50% from the free throw line, and he had 2 of his rebounds were offensive. I don't understand why Rodney Hood did not play more than 25 minutes, and they were not getting him the ball as much. Rodney Hood played excellent. J.R. Smith played like crap. J.R. Smith had 13 points, 4 rebounds, and was 5 of 14 shooting. But yet J.R. Smith had more minutes. Now, granted, maybe it was a defensive thing, but Rodney Hood should have been playing back at the start of this series. We may have a different series if Rodney Hood plays. He's been in the doghouse. I think Tyronn Lue's a horrible coach. I don't think he knows his personnel. They want to run everything through LeBron, let LeBron drive in and dish it. And I just don't think that they know what to do with Rodney Hood. And they finally figured it out, but too little too late.
I hesitate to agree with you, even though I'm not agree with you. I hate being on the fence like this and hedging what I'm about to say, but there's so many ifs, or not necessarily ifs, but
what we might not know as as many people as we talk to and as people far inside as we've got some great connections over these months. But one thing I want to see, just out of morbid curiosity, when you bring up Tyronn Lue, however you say his goddamn name, he'll always be remembered to me as the guy Iverson stepped over after the crossover. But
yeah, I can't look at him without the cornrows. I just can't do it.
Exactly. I mean, that was a great moment in our city's history. But is it LeBron that said, "Hey, man, I don't like this dude. He's an asshole"? Is it, does he have that much power? Does he not have that much power? And does he like him? And is it on Tyronn Lue? I bet it'll come out at some point in the off season. It's hard to accuse Rodney Hood. Rodney Hood might be a freaking Nobel Peace Prize winner. He might be the greatest guy in the world. But, he averaged 17 a game, and Utah didn't seem to mind getting rid of him. He certainly looks the part when he has the ball in his hand. He doesn't look like a bench player by any means. Offensively, I agree with you, man. I don't know what's up. Why would you put anybody but him other than LeBron and Kevin Love? I mean, the guy looks good. And he had that thing where he refused to enter the game, and then he apologized. I think you dug up the date. It was something like May something or other.
Yeah.
Had to apologize to his team. So you mentioned the doghouse. When Philadelphia is always up for a draft, no matter any sport, well, specifically basketball and football, they always talk about, well, this guy's great, but he has character issues. It's unfair without any concrete evidence as so to put that on Rodney, but I would just like to see how it plays out and see if we get a little more than we're getting, because if not, I totally agree with you. How the hell can you have a guy that's got that kind of offensive explosion and can put up, 10 points in a quarter where you were lacking, and LeBron get a little rest, and then you don't know who, you got to, defensively you got to make adjustments to adjust to Rodney Hood scoring when Kevin Love and LeBron are in there, and vice versa. You have to switch off, and all of a sudden you got to, maybe we're stretching it to say we got a series, but we got a different looking series at least. So yeah, I guess I got to let it play out. And the first point I was trying to make about Lue is, if LeBron does leave and Lue does not, I mean, how could you fire Tyronn Lue? You know what I mean? And maybe they will, but if he's left there with what's left, then we'll see if Tyronn, I always say his name 3 different ways, but Mr. Lue, we'll see what he's got in the tank as far as a legitimate coach if he doesn't have that /player coach King James right there. What do you see him on if LeBron's gone, and they have to keep the contracts, they can't work nothing out, they really have just no semblance of what they have this year. It's Kevin Love as their top guy, and whoever they draft, and God knows. How do you see Tyronn Lue if they keep him around?
I don't know. He was an assistant. He knows how to coach, but when you're dealing with a lot of, he's not Phil Jackson. Does that make sense? And what I mean, and I don't mean to compare our coaches, but Phil Jackson, when he coached, I mean, Phil Jackson was good at dealing with issues, like the Kobe Shaq issues. If Michael and anybody had an issue on the Bulls, Phil Jackson dealt with a lot of egos. Tyronn Lue's dealing with the best player in the world, and I don't think he's handling it well. I think, there's a time, and this is coming from a different place here, but there's a time when you have to discipline your players. There's a time when you need to say, you know what? No, I'm the coach. I say what goes. I'm getting paid to make the decisions, not you. Now, you should listen to your players because, they're your players. Listen to them. But you have to make the decision. I don't care how great LeBron is. I don't care how great Kobe was. I don't care how great Michael was. Phil Jackson coached those teams, not Kobe, not Michael. True. Now, granted, Michael might have changed a few plays, but he didn't say this is the personnel that's going to be in. If LeBron James doesn't like Rodney Hood, and LeBron James is saying, I don't want to play with this guy, I'd tell him tough shit. Because we need him. We need his scoring. We need what he brings to the table. That's why he's here. You don't like him? Don't go to dinner with him. Don't hang out with his family. Don't take pictures with his kids. Just don't be around him. But you got to play with him. Because this is, at the end of the day, we all have coworkers maybe that we don't get along with. Maybe there's some people you work with. What?
I said, what do you say?
I love you, TR. You know that, you bastard. It's that Don Broven. No, I'm kidding. But we all have people we don't like in our that are in our lives. But you got to deal with it sometimes. I don't care if you're the best player in the world. I don't care if you're the best at anything in the world. Sometimes you got to deal with shit you don't want to deal with. And I'm not saying this is the issue, but if it's the issue that LeBron's saying don't play him, Tyronn Lue waits until Game 3 of the Finals whenever it's too little too late to put him in and give him a shot. And he showed tonight he could do it. Now, granted, he's not the best on defense. But, God, give the guy a shot. He's doing better than what J.R. Smith was. J.R. Smith has been horrid. I don't understand. Yeah. But,
J.R. played a little better tonight in your early go. But
played a little better, but not much better. Love played better tonight. It's just Cleveland's no match. And with Hood on the court, they looked better. The second unit looked a lot better with Hood. Granted, he plays a lot of ISO ball. He's not a guy that's going to stand around and wait for LeBron to find him. He's going to create his own shot. He's going to get to the basket. He can draw fouls. He can do those things. And that's not what LeBron likes to play with. So maybe it is LeBron saying he doesn't want to play with him. I don't know. But if that's the case, then that's very selfish of LeBron and makes me lose a lot of respect for him because sometimes you got to take one if you want to make the team better. That's just me, though. So, and another shot will be
speculation.
Of course. This is nothing confirmed. I'm just saying this is a what if. And if Tyronn Lue puts up with it, then he should be removed as coach because you're the coach. You're getting paid to coach the team. You're getting paid to make personnel switches, decisions. You shouldn't put up with one guy. I don't care how good he is. You can't really punish the guy, but you can say, you know what, this is still my team. So, that's my opinion on it. If that's the case.
I'll tell you one thing that's unrelated to Rodney Hood, but something that popped in my mind about the Mick Foley guest appearance last week after Game 1. He made a point that not many people pointed out, and I had no idea watching it in live, live time, game time, so to speak, about that foul that Draymond did to LeBron, and it ended up on his eye. And he still, if you saw it tonight, still has a lot of, build-up blood and whatever you call that. I think there's a medical term for that where the
like a busted,
side of the
it's
eye
like a busted vein or something like that. That's what I've always called it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like crazy like detached retina or nothing where he can't play, but
looks like he rode to the game. It looks like he rode to the game with RVD and Sabu.
Yeah, he. I don't know. Is he the Josh Gordon of the other Cleveland franchise?
I mean, he is in Cleveland, so maybe LeGarrette won Cleveland now.
Yeah, aptly named, right?
For real.
But yeah, he's still got that big old patch of blood on the left side of his left eye, and damn if the what better guy to point that out though than a guy that took the punishment of Mick Foley over the years, you know what I mean? So that was kind of a bang play that that was kind of a bang play where I was like, that's typical Draymond, whatever. But I didn't notice the eye part. I just thought it was like kind of a slap him in the face kind of deal. But he certainly
you said Mick Foley.
Certainly did
Mick Foley, and you said Mick Foley, and then said bang bang.
Maybe a Freudian subconscious mind slip. I don't know. But,
Must have been.
Yeah, that was a pretty good observation by Mick the other week.
It was.
You can check out that show. as well as all of our other shows.
It shows in our archives on blogtalkradio.com/widemencan'tjump. We did a post-game one interview with Mick Foley. It was done. We did a Sunday night roundtable discussion, game one wrap-up with Mick Foley, and you can listen to that now. It's in our archives. It's anywhere you find the show. Please give that a listen. Mick Foley, WWE Hall of Famer, gracious with his time to come on and talk a little basketball with us. It was great. TR, we got one more break to take, and we'll be right back. And we got about 10 minutes left, so we'll be wrapping this up here soon. So stay tuned.
Have you been injured on the job, facing divorce, or experiencing workplace discrimination? You can rely on a compassionate, thorough representation at New Law Office. That's right. The practicing law of Stephen P. New. He has practiced areas of personal injury, automobile accidents, workplace accidents, mesothelioma law, Social Security disability, unfair insurance practices, family law, and employment discrimination. Mr. New is a proud sponsor of Wide Men Can't Jump, is a big basketball fan, and also pro wrestling fan in the West Virginia area. Stephen P. New will fight for you and will represent you whether it be locally or nationally. Get your free consultation today by dialing 1-888-692-8084 or visit newlawoffice.com today. Again, that's 1-888-692-8084 or visit newlawoffice.com today.
That's right. We want to thank our sponsors, the law offices of Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, wowfreecam.com, and Makeup Kennedy at facebook.com/makeupkennedy. And also a big thank you to Down in Round 3 for the intro song, Something in the Water, from their album Sidelined. Check it out. Nate and TR here with you tonight as we are winding down from the day that was Game 3. And this episode is named 3 games down, 1 draft to go as the NBA draft is coming. And we've had some great guests tonight. But, you know, TR, that it was a wild Game 3. It was interesting, Game 3. And, you know, we're pretty much counting the Cavs out. Maybe they win Game 4, maybe they don't. I don't see it unless something amazing happens. But, you know, one guy who played really well tonight that nobody really gave a lot of credit to, in the third quarter, he was the only other player in double figures, and that is JaVale McGee. Played very well for the Warriors tonight. He ended up, I believe he had 10, let me double check here. JaVale McGee ended up with 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2 blocks. Shot 71% from the field, finished in the plus at +3. So, and he only played 14 minutes, so 10 points in 14 minutes. That's not too shabby from JaVale McGee. And another guy that played well for the Warriors was Jordan Bell. He gave some big minutes tonight for the Warriors. He played about 12 minutes, had 10 points, 6 rebounds, ended up with a block, went 4 of 5 shooting from the field, finished at even in the plus-minus. So the Warriors getting some help from guys that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, I mean, McGee, for all the, I mean, you know, just this series, he's done some goofy things. Let's just say goofy. It's Shaq's gimmick to do Shaq and a fool, but he was like the poster boy for that.
But, McGee!
Exactly. But take that, you know, periodic, you know, goofball type play. You take his overall game, he's not a bad player. I mean, we had him here for the Sixers, but he was in that dreaded Sam Hinkie, whatever that was. So I don't even think he got off the bench more than like 5 minutes in quite a long time. And, you know, I see these Kyle Korvers and Andre Iguodala's that are still, you know, not league MVPs, but viable players in the championship. And last I checked, the Sixers aren't one of the final 2. So trust my balls. Just to echo on what may be the last show of active basketball that I said before tip-off, fuck that process, even though we got a crazy Twitter account goof running it now. I don't know what the answer is, but I know it wasn't him. That freaking Stinky, Sam Stinky. Anyhow.
We always come back to this, and it's great.
I hate that dope. But, you know, and there's a hashtag, I shouldn't even put it over, but there's a hashtag now called Do the Right Thing. It has nothing to do with that old movie. It has to do with the Hinkie fans urging the Sixers to fire Brian Colangelo. And in this case, I'll agree with that faction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it turns out to be true. I mean, I don't agree with anybody getting fired, really, if I'm being completely honest, unless they do something like murder or rape or something like real, not comments or dopey internet stuff. But in the day and age we live in, it really is a black eye if we want to move forward and get free agents and stuff. So, you know, I hope we just get a quality replacement if that's the way it goes. Anything on the Minnesota end we want to say, since it's kind of winding down? And
haven't really heard too much. The Wolves have been quiet since the off season started for them. Very quiet, other than the rumored trade of Towns to the Suns, which is probably not going to happen. Thank God. So those rumors died down pretty quick. But, you know, the Wolves got back into the playoffs, and I'm incredibly happy about that. That was my goal this season for them, was to get back to the playoffs. Granted, they were doing a lot better. They should have been a lot better, but the Butler injury hurt them. Next season, I want to see Towns improve on his defense. I want to see Wiggins improve on his defense. And I want to see Andrew Wiggins become a player that takes that next step and gets up to that star level. I want him to be more interested in playing basketball. He kind of just seems like he's just kind of happy to be there and get his money. I want to see Wiggins determined to win. That's what I want. I want to see a killer instinct out of him. I want to see the Wolves get to the second round of the playoffs next year, because I think this year, if Butler stays healthy, I think we go to the second round. I don't think we get out of it, but I think we could. We go to the second round. I want to see Justin Patton play next year. I want to see what he can do. It's going to be interesting to see what Tom Thibodeau does. I hope next season he lets the team run a little more, be more athletic, be more themselves, because when they do, they're tough to stop. So I'll leave it at that for now. I'm pretty happy with the way the season turned out for Minnesota for the most part. Grant would love to see it went longer, but I'm not too upset about it. One more thing newsworthy. Go ahead.
Go ahead. What's his news? I was just going to add one thing.
Dwayne Casey interviewed with the Pistons for that vacant coaching position. So there's a possibility Dwayne Casey, former coach of the year from this past season, could go to the Pistons and have Blake Griffin and that squad. So we'll see where that goes.
Interesting. I wanted to point out something that I didn't really I heard but didn't give it its proper attention when it was said by our friend Jonathan Hood, when he appeared, when he had the story from Chicago, when it was a blizzard and the Bulls called off their practice, yet your drill sergeant over there, Mr. Tibbs, still made his team show up, and they had to pry open the door to get their practice in.
That doesn't shock me.
Is that a good or bad thing to you? Do you like that kind of hard-nosed coach, or do you?
I like a little hard-nosed coaching, but at the same time, maybe a little too much. Like, I don't know. You know, I like my coach to be in charge. I like to know the coach is the boss, but forcing players to practice in a blizzard, I mean, come on, man. Like, I get it, but little downtime, you don't want to kill your players. They have long careers ahead of them. So,
you know what I would have did? I would have.
Go ahead.
I would have told the whole roster that we didn't, but told Wiggins we did, and just made that dude in the snow.
I love Wiggins, but he's really got to get his head out of his ass. But you know what? Next season's another season, and we're going to try and have a wrap-up show after Game 4. It won't be the night of Game 4. We have a wrap-up show for that. Maybe on Saturday we'll post a wrap-up show of some sort. But TR, we're getting ready to go home, brother. Is there anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I seriously doubt. I don't even know if it's. I mean, it would be possible if the series went 7 that we could do this show together again active season, but that would take Draymond getting kicked out with his 7 technicals, and I don't want to wish injury on Durant, Steph, or Clay or anybody like that, but realistically it's not going to happen. So that was kind of why I was reminiscing at some of the stuff during the show tonight, because it came from a little idea that we had. You ran a smaller show last year as a hobby, and I found my big old buddy from West Virginia that liked NBA as much as I did. And although we're going to continue, we're going to talk basketball 365, 24/7. It just kind of sucks that we don't have active basketball to talk about other than this is the past week. So I wanted to personally thank you, Nate, for taking this ride with me, and I think we did damn good.
It's been fun. I've had a blast.
An incredible amount of great guests. We've made lifelong connections with some people, and I think we're just going to keep growing. I just wanted to say thank Laughcast for giving us a last-minute start when I didn't know where we were going to go. And, our sponsors that stuck with us, Wow Free Cam and Steve called in tonight appropriately, during the championship series. And, Makeup Kennedy, even Criscola Concrete, Near All Going, et cetera, et cetera. So,
and
just so
we
nobody
need to
thinks I take it for granted. Go ahead, buddy.
I was just going to say we need to thank our buddy up north, Tim Dombrova. He's been here with us since the start of this crazy little Facebook message idea that has turned into this global conglomerate that is Wide Men Can't Jump. Fun fact, I work at a radio station. My station manager looked at me the other day and he said, "Wide Men Can't Jump, huh?" I said, "Yeah, it's my basketball show." He said, "I'm going to listen to it when I get a chance." He said, "But that is the best name I've ever heard."
That's awesome.
He said, "That is awesome." So, even people I didn't know that know. So thank you guys for being here with us. We don't take you for granted. We love you. If this is the last show of the active season, it's been a good season, and we're going to keep going. We'll be back next week, active season or not. We'll be talking, who knows, to anybody. Who knows will be here, And then 2 weeks from now, we're doing our draft special. We'll have a lot to break down. The summer league's coming up. So there's basketball all the time. So, TR, it's been fun, man. It's been a great season to kick off, and I'm already ready for next season to tip off. October can't get here quick enough.
I'll tell you what, I'm psyched up for this summer with all the moves and so forth. And as long as nobody gets injured, I can't wait to see what these goofy Sixers do, because we have a soap opera here in Philly. You know that.
You guys really do. You guys are the most enjoyable team to watch from a distance.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe
it can be heartbreaking up close.
And who knows? Maybe Nate will sneak up to Philly here this summer and go visit his big buddy TR, and we can grab some cheesesteaks while I'm there. Who knows?
Give me some advance notice. Give me some advance notice. You never know what I might find around my house if you can read between the lines.
Well, we want to thank you guys for listening to Wide Men Can't Jump, the flagship show. You can follow us on Twitter at Wide Jump. You can follow us on Instagram at Wide Men Can't Jump. We are located at blogtalkradio.com/Wide Men Can't Jump. That is where you'll find all of our episodes in the archive and our RSS feed. You can also find us anywhere and everywhere, including iTunes, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Google Play, FM Flash, iHeartRadio, Pod Paradise, many, many, many more places. We are everywhere. Our shows are updated on the All Pro Nation Network. You can check us out on All Pro Nation. We're a proud member of them, and we are the basketball show over there, so go check them out. We'll be jumping on more places here in the near future. Had some talks with some people. We had a pretty decent talk today, TR and I did, and we're going to run it through Tim, and we may have some other stuff coming up here in the near future. Thank you guys for listening again. Check out all the shows we have on the Wide Men Network, the Tim and Tom Show, There's also the Sunday Night Roundtables. Tim does Wide Men Can't Score about hockey. Just keep up with us. We're always posting something. You never know what you're going to hear on some of these shows. Big thanks to our guests tonight, Philip Rossman-Wright, Gerald Bouguet, and Stephen P. New, all for coming on. Thanks to Nosh for calling in. Sorry I couldn't get to you, Jeff. We will definitely get back with you soon. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Follow TR on Twitter. He's at TR Shock. I'm at MMITM Nathan. Anything else you want to add, TR?
That's it, my brother.
All right. I'm Nate. He's TR. TR, send us home, brother.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to this show on the Wide Men Radio Network, blogtalkradio.com/Wide Men Can't Jump. You can download this and any other episode from our network at iTunes, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pod Paradise, Google Play, Player FM, and anywhere you find your favorite podcast. This show has been brought to you by the law offices of Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, facebook.com/makeupkennedy, and wowfreecam.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at WideJump. You can follow us on Instagram at Wide Men Can't Jump, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Wide Men Can't Jump. Please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Also, rate the show and tell us how we did. If you love us, please give us a 5-star rating. Again, thanks for listening to this episode on the Wide Men Radio Network. Tune in, same time, same place, for the Wide Men Radio Network at blogtalkradio.com/Wide Men Can't Jump.
Get to Old Navy to redeem your Super Cash. Use your Old Navy card in-store or online with your Super Cash to earn double reward points at Old Navy and OldNavy.com. Valid 6/2 to 6/10. Excludes gift cards. Double reward points offer subject to credit approval.
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Okay, time out. You're gonna let your budget be the boss of you? Take control with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Tell us what you want to pay for car insurance, and we'll help you find options that fit your budget. Here's some music to get you pumped. Da-dong, 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 dang, dang. I hear your budget laughing at you. Oh, wait, that's just those kids laughing at me. Ignore them! Da-dong, da-dong,
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.